like to get rid, have they?
Buddy? Да, voy. Penthouse, please.
I tried to hold it for you.
No, you didn't.
Please.
Our movie begins with Kraven inside a prison transport vehicle, being transferred to a prison in Russia. Upon arrival, he is assigned to a cell with a person who hates having anyone with him in the cell. This person tells Kraven that the longest anyone has stayed with him in the cell was just 1 month before he ended their life. However, Kraven responds that he will stay for a maximum of 3 days. The man mocks him, saying that anyone who is imprisoned in this facility is sentenced to life in prison, but Kraven doesn't care about his words and goes to sleep. On the second day at dawn, Kraven heads out to the prisoner's yard and starts lifting an iron bar that belongs to the leader of the largest gang in the prison. His men come and demand that he leave it, but when he doesn't respond to them, they press him with the bar. He confronts them, lifts them with the bar, and strikes their heads with it. Then he walks away. The guards take him to the gang leader, who has complete control over the prison. The leader asks him if he knows who he is to dare do such a thing to his men. Kraven reveals that he is aware of his identity and says, "You are Simeon Sharon, leader of the Croft gang." At that moment, we notice that Kraven picks up the fangs of the stuffed tiger on the ground without anyone noticing. The leader is surprised by Kraven's precise knowledge of him and asks, "Who are you?" Kraven replies, "I am a hunter, but not of animals. I hunt humans, criminals like you." Then, Kraven attacks the leader's men and kills them with ease before turning to the leader and killing him as well. And when the policeman enters the cell, Kraven kills him and begins to escape from the prison. His method of escape resembles the skills of all animals, as if he embodies a trait from each one. He runs at an incredibly high speed, so much so that the security guards cannot catch him. At that moment, his cellmate laughs because he hadn't even spent 3 days before escaping, demonstrating exceptional skill in breaking out of the prison. Then, he enters a fierce snowstorm, where he encounters a wolf that was about to attack him. But when the wolf sees him, it calms down, as if it recognizes him. At that moment, Kraven runs swiftly toward a plane waiting for him, and we discover that it was a carefully planned scheme to enter the prison. He had intentionally gone in to eliminate Simeon, the leader of the gang, and we see Kraven on the plane, removing the tattoo from his neck, and we realize that he killed someone who had the same tattoo and threw him into the ice. The police find the body and believe that it is Kraven who died. Suddenly, Kraven is drawn back into his memories, 16 years into the past, where we see him as a young boy with his brother Dmitry and their father, Nick. Their father comes to them and tells them that their mother has committed suicide. Kraven becomes upset and says to his father, "This is because you used to imprison her and treat her badly." But his father replies, "No, she took her own life because she was weak and mentally ill." They had thought they were going to a funeral, but their father informed them that there would be no memorial for her. Instead, he would take them on a hunting trip to Ghana. During that trip, he would attempt to hunt Tsar, the most dangerous lion in Africa. Nick wanted to teach them how to hunt, and we move to Ghana, where we see a girl named Calypso sitting with her grandmother, who is a great witch. They play a card game that reveals her future. When the grandmother looks at the cards, she tells her that a very painful incident will happen before her, but it will result in great strength. Then she gives her a magical potion capable of saving anyone from death. And we see Nick and his men as they search for the lion czar, hunting other animals along the way. Nick tries to instill a killer instinct in his son Kraven, telling him that he must be brave and a skilled hunter. He doesn't speak to Dmitry because he knows he is a coward. The next day, they encounter other people who are hunting, including a man named Alexei, who wants to join Nick's gang activities. But Nick mocks him, telling him that he is a coward and despised, and that it is impossible for someone like him to be part of any operation. Alexei leaves the place, feeling deeply upset by Nick's words. And then, we see Kraven and Dmitry walking alone when suddenly they find the lion Tsar standing before them. Kraven points his rifle at it and shields his brother, but the two exchange intense glances, as if there is an unspoken understanding between them. Then Kraven lowers his rifle, but at that moment their father Nick arrives and fires a shot toward the lion. The lion becomes enraged and lunges at Kraven, prompting Nick to fire another shot. The lion Tsar grabs Kraven by his clothes and begins dragging him away, while the men with Nick can do nothing to save him. And then we see Calypso with her father and mother on a trip to photograph animals. However, Calypso isn't focused on them, as she is preoccupied with thoughts of her grandmother's words. Suddenly she hears the roar of the lion Tsar and feels as though it is calling her. Since her parents aren't paying attention to her, she gets out of the car without them noticing and starts walking toward the sound. Calypso continues walking until she reaches the lion Tsar, who is holding Kraven and looking at her as if asking for her help. Suddenly a drop of blood falls from the lion and mixes with Kraven's blood. At that moment, the lion releases Kraven and walks away. Calypso realizes that this is the incident her grandmother had told her about, so she quickly takes out the magical potion and gives it to Kraven to drink. At that moment, Calypso notices a strange power entering Kraven's body due to the magical potion and the drop of the lion's blood. She screams at the top of her voice, calling for help, and indeed, a helicopter arrives to rescue him. Before he leaves, Calypso leaves the magical potion and the tarot card depicting the lion with him in his clothes. And when he is taken to the hospital, the doctors lose hope of saving him because he is nearly dead. They do everything they can, but to no avail. But suddenly, the lion Tsar appears in pain, and Kraven comes back to life again, with his eye color changing to match that of the lion Tsar. On the morning of the second day, while still in the hospital, he finds a tarot card in his pocket, but cannot understand its meaning. The doctor tells him that his condition is strange, as he came back to life on his own after everyone had lost hope. Then, his father and brother enter and inform the nurse that they will take him home. When he returns home, he finds a letter left by his mother before she died. In it, she tells him that she does not want him to become a gangster like his father and wishes for him to be a good man. At that moment, his father calls him, and when he goes down to him, his father tells him that he was weak for refusing to kill the lion and that he put his own life and his brother's life in danger because of his fear. He tells him that he must not be afraid of anything because he is the one who will take over the gang after his father and his fear could get him killed. Then, he shows him the head of the lion that had frightened him. But Kraven becomes angry because his father killed the lion and leaves the room feeling upset. When he looks out the window, he sees a hawk and feels a strange connection with it, making him long to live among the animals in the wild. He starts packing his belongings, and as he picks up the clothes he was wearing when the lion attacked him, the vial containing the magical medicine falls out. At that moment, he realizes that he survived thanks to that medicine. He waits until nightfall to escape from the house and tries to climb the wall quietly so his father won't notice, but he falls and is surprised by his own strength. Then, he meets his brother and bids him farewell. Then he travels to Russia, heading to the place where they used to camp before his mother's death. On the way, he encounters a herd of buffalo charging toward him. Confused and unsure of what to do, he stands frozen in fear. But to his surprise, one of the buffalo steps in front of him to shield him until the entire herd passes. Then it leaves him and walks away. Kraven remains puzzled, unable to understand the connection he has with animals. After that, he continues his journey and reaches the campsite that his mother loved. He decides to live there for the rest of his life, and then we see him outside in the forest, and suddenly he discovers that he has an extremely strong sense of hearing, and his aiming ability has also become very high and powerful. He finds a gazelle and chases after it, realizing that his speed has become incredible to the point where he can jump from a very high place. He discovers his superhuman abilities more and more as he lives in the forest. Suddenly, he hears the sound of gunfire, so he climbs a tree to understand what's happening. He uses his enhanced vision and hearing abilities and finds that there is a gang killing buffaloes to take their horns and sell them. He climbs down from the tree and runs toward them. When he arrives, he becomes enraged when he sees all the buffaloes dead in this manner. Suddenly, 2 hunters appear and threaten him, telling him that he's just a young boy and should go back home. But he tells them that the forest is his home. He picks up a knife from the ground and takes down one of them, then the other. He starts to feel that this will be his role in life, to eliminate all the criminals and become a skilled hunter, just as his father wanted, but a hunter of criminal humans, not animals. And we return to our present time, where Kraven wakes up from his memories while on the plane. We find that he still has the lion card given to him by the girl who saved his life long ago. Afterward, he gets off the plane and returns to the forest once again after completing his mission in the prison. When he opens his phone, he finds a message from his brother, Dmitry, checking up on him and saying that he wants to see him on his birthday. Then, he returns to his mother's house in the forest, and we see that it has been equipped to the highest standard, and he now lives there permanently. A few days later, we see a gang killing buffaloes and stealing their horns, but as they are leaving the area, they are surprised to find Kraven standing in front of them. He asks them why they are doing this, but they mock him, and one of them says that they outnumber him and are armed, so it's better for him to get out of their way. They start moving the vehicle, but Kraven, using his skills, slips underneath it and emerges to take down the first 2 with ease. He then goes after the driver and the person next to him, dealing with them as well. Their leader fires shots at him, but Kraven manages to dodge them. The leader tries to escape in the vehicle, but Kraven had already memorized the vehicle's license plate number. We find their leader going to the head of the gang and reporting what happened in the forest. However, he is shocked to see Kraven there. Kraven asks him for his name, then takes him down and crosses his name off the list he has. He then leaves the office, having dealt with the 2 of them. Then we see Calypso, after she has grown up, at the funeral of her closest friend. She says that she is very proud to have been her friend because she was a courageous journalist. When her friend decided to expose Simon Sharoni, the leader of the Croft gang, he had her killed. Kraven is standing there, listening to her. After she finishes, he goes to offer his condolences. She doesn't recognize him at first, but he reminds her of himself and shows her the card. She then remembers that he is the child she saved long ago. He tells her that he has taken down Simon, the leader of the Croft gang. When she leaves, she searches and finds news confirming Simon's death. There are also many other crimes committed in the same manner against different criminals. People begin to call him the Hunter, but some believe he is just a myth, while others think his stories are legends, and that the ones eliminating these people are actually a large gang trying to take over the entire market for themselves. The next day, he goes to meet her and confesses everything to her, that he is the Hunter, that he gained superhuman abilities from the day she saved him, and that he has a list of criminals' names to hunt down and eliminate. He asks her, since she is a lawyer working at the largest law firm in the country, to provide him with the names of the top gang leaders so he can take them down as well. However, she tells him that she will think about it and get back to him. We see Alexei, who was with Nick, Kraven, and Dmitry on the hunting trip long ago, and we learn that he has become the leader of a large gang. His assistant comes and tells him that Simon died in his cell, and that the Hunter was the one who did it. Alexei is upset because Simon was one of his most important men, and they had a lot of business together. The assistant also tells him that he has received information that the Hunter has a list of criminals' names, and if Alexei's name is on it, there's a high chance he will be killed. However, Alexei doesn't seem to care much about what he's saying, and instead orders him to bring the 3 most dangerous men from Simon's crew to take over the business after him. He actually brings them in, meets with them, and understands that he had been working with Simon. He wants one of the 3 to become the leader, but they mock him because none of them want to eliminate the other. To show them his strength, he disconnects a device attached to his body, and at that moment we see his skin and appearance change. One of them gets scared and shoots at him, but he removes the bullets from his body and reconnects the device to return to his original state. They were about to shoot at him again, but one of his men, a sniper, eliminates the one who was trying to shoot him. This leaves 2 of them, and he tells them that he needs one of them to be the leader. One of them quickly eliminates the other without hesitation to avoid his own death and tells him that he is now the leader instead of Simon. We move to Nick's nightclub, where his son Dmitry is singing. The new leader who took Simon's place comes to him, and Nick tells him that he will provide protection and distribution in exchange for money. He agrees, and at that moment, Nick is surprised that he didn't discuss anything and just agreed right away. Then, people attack him, and he eliminates them. His men in the bar also help and take care of the rest. However, he has been shot in the shoulder, and he gets angry at his son for being a coward, for hiding, and for not defending him. We move to Alexei and his assistant, and he tells him that the mission failed, and Nick eliminated them. He also says that someone left a flash drive in front of his door. On it, he sees the prison Kraven escaped from, and realizes that Kraven is Nick's son and that he is the hunter. He tells him to assign someone, known as the Foreigner, to take on the task of killing the hunter. Indeed, the Foreigner begins his mission, and we find him at the prison looking for any evidence that could help him. A police officer from the prison arrives, but we discover that the Foreigner has superhuman strength. As soon as he removes his glasses, he puts the officer to sleep magnetically, then disappears and reappears, easily eliminating him. And we move to Kraven, who is in the city, climbing a massive building. He sneaks in to surprise his brother on his birthday, telling him that he will spend the entire day with him. At night, they go to a bar to celebrate his birthday. That's when their father shows up and greets him, but Kraven still can't forget what happened between them. He greets him half-heartedly and tries to convince him to come back and live with them again, to let go of the past. But it's no use. When they finish, Kraven takes his brother and they head home. However, Kraven can't sleep there because he's used to sleeping in the forest, in silence, away from devices and noise. So, he goes down and sleeps on the ground in the garden. In the morning, he wakes up to say goodbye to his brother before leaving, but he finds the place in disarray and blood on his brother's bed. He discovers that a gang has kidnapped him. Enraged, Kraven quickly jumps from the building and chases the car at high speed. The gang sedates his brother with an injection, and Kraven uses his strength and skills, leaping between buildings. He eventually catches up and tries to break the car's bulletproof glass. He manages to open a part of the car, but they fire at him. He dodges the bullets but falls from the car, and they continue on their way. They arrive at a location with a helicopter, and they are shocked to see Kraven running toward them. He grabs a net and hooks it onto the helicopter, trying to stop it with all his strength. One of them fires at him, so he grabs a pipe, jumps, and strikes the attacker. The helicopter increases its speed, cutting the net, but Kraven jumps and clings to it. He remains hanging until he crashes into a rescue point. Despite this, they succeed in kidnapping his brother, and at that moment, Kraven goes to Calypso and informs her that a gang has kidnapped his brother. He also tells her about the clues he noticed during the kidnapping. Calypso immediately starts making her contacts to find out their location. We go to Nick's father, who sends Kraven to inform him that the gang sent his son Dmitry's finger and are asking for a $20 million ransom. Kraven tells him to pay in order to get him back, but Nick refuses to pay, not because of the money, but because it would make him appear weak. They continue to argue, and Kraven leaves and walks away. On the other side, Calypso manages to reach someone who tells her that the one who kidnapped Dmitry is a man named Omar, living in Turkey, and he gives her all the information about him. However, we later discover that he works with the Foreigner and was lying to her. After he does what the Foreigner wants, the Foreigner finishes him off. He then calls Alexei and informs him that the hunter is heading to Turkey. At that moment, Alexei calls Omar and tells him that the hunter is coming for him and that he should prepare himself to be taken down. Indeed, as soon as Calypso tells Kraven that the one who kidnapped his brother is a man named Omar living in Turkey, he begins moving towards Turkey. He enters the gang's headquarters and starts taking them down one by one quietly until they sense his presence. However, he still manages to eliminate them with his great strength. He reaches their leader, Omar, and asks him about his brother, but while asking, he finds that people are shooting at him with a missile. He jumps quickly, and before Omar dies, Kraven asks him who kidnapped his brother. Omar tells him it was Alexei and Alexei's men. Alexei and his men believe that Kraven died from the missile, so they search for him to confirm his death. However, they are shocked when they find out he's alive, and he takes them down easily. Kraven calls Calypso and tells her that the person who gave her the information was working with Alexei to set a trap for him. He warns her that they will probably try to reach her now and gives her a location to wait. Indeed, while he's talking, she notices his men coming towards her, so she gathers all her things from the office and escapes from the place. On the other side, the foreigner sees the weapon that Kraven uses, and when the police see it at the crime scene, he takes them down easily. We see Alexei with Dmitry, and he tells him that people used to say he was weak like him, but he managed to reach a doctor who created a device that makes everyone respect him and fear him. However, he doesn't like to turn into this creature except when necessary, because when he transforms, he feels intense pain all over his body. He offers Dmitry to be his partner when he gets rid of his father and takes over all his work, but Dmitry refuses to betray his family. This makes Alexei very angry, but he cuts off his assistant and tells him that Kraven is still alive and has taken out Omar and all his men. Then, the foreigner arrives and tells Alexei that he knows Kraven's location because of the weapon he uses, which contains poison, from a very rare plant that only grows in one forest in Russia, and he knows where the forest is. After that, we go to Kraven, who meets Calypso at the place he told her about and takes her to the place where he lives. Suddenly, while they are on the way, a tiger attacks him, but Kraven manages to control it, and it's clear that they are just playing around and used to this kind of thing. When Calypso enters the house where he lives, she sees all his weapons and realizes she knows how to use them, as she trained with them since she was young during the safari trips she used to take. She notices that he has been conducting many tests on a certain plant, and he tells her that all these years he has been trying to make a medicine like the one he gave him when he was young, but so far he hasn't succeeded. He asks her if she has any more of it, but she tells him no. Alexei and the foreigner begin moving toward Kraven's location, accompanied by a large number of men. The foreigner carries a tranquilizing weapon that makes anyone hit by it see their worst nightmares, experience hallucinations, become completely paralyzed, and eventually die. He forces Dmitry to call his brother Kraven. Alexei then tells Kraven that he is in his jungle and offers him a partnership, promising not to harm him and suggesting that they work together. But Kraven hangs up on him, which serves as a declaration of war between them. At that moment, Kraven starts preparing himself with all his weapons, while Alexei also gathers his men, ready to eliminate him. Suddenly, we see Kraven's tiger attacking them, taking down some of their men. Dmitry takes advantage of the chaos and tries to escape, but the foreigner notices him. Meanwhile, Kraven starts eliminating Alexei's men one by one. Some of them fall into the traps he had set in the jungle. When Alexei hears the screams of his men and realizes he is losing, he calls for a helicopter, which starts firing missiles, setting the entire jungle on fire. Kraven tries to evade the explosions, while Calypso sees what's happening and decides to go help him. As Kraven runs through the burning jungle, the foreigner shoots him with a tranquilizer, causing him to experience hallucinations and nightmares. His nightmares consist of spiders, and he imagines himself fighting the foreigner, but in reality, he is hitting a tree. Before the foreigner can kill him, Calypso arrives and shoots an arrow at the foreigner, finishing him off. She then rushes to Kraven and finds him on the brink of death. She gives him her grandmother's magical medicine once again. At that moment, he regains consciousness and tells her that he knew she had another dose of it. Here we see that Alexei and the rest of his men believe Kraven is dead, so they decide to leave the jungle. As they are leaving, they find Dmitry and take him with them. But on their way, they are attacked by a herd of buffalo. Alexei disconnects his device so he can transform and remain unaffected by the impact. As expected, the buffalo herd charges at the vehicles, destroying them and killing all of Alexei's men. Meanwhile, Kraven appears and begins attacking Alexei. However, Alexei has fully transformed and is far stronger than Kraven. Kraven tries every possible way to defeat him, but he is unable to because of Alexei's immense strength. Alexei is about to kill Kraven when Kraven notices the location of Alexei's device He strikes it with a metal rod, weakening him. Seizing the opportunity, Kraven ties Alexei with a large metal cable and throws him into the middle of the buffalo herd, which tramples him completely. Before Alexei dies, Kraven approaches him and asks, "Who sent you the video when you escaped prison?" Alexei replies that it was his father who sent it. Kraven is shocked by this revelation, and at that moment, Alexei dies completely. With this, Kraven has eliminated them and successfully saved his brother, Dmitry. After a while, we see Kraven confronting his father, admitting that he was the one who sent the video to Alexei. His father tells him that he always knew Kraven was the hunter, even though they didn't live together. He was certain because of his actions and the way he killed people. He explains that Alexei was his biggest rival and that he couldn't get rid of him alone because Alexei's gang was larger and more dangerous than his own. He adds that if he had asked Kraven to eliminate Alexei, Kraven would have refused. So instead, he made Alexei try to eliminate Kraven, forcing them into a confrontation that would end the matter. He succeeded in this plan because of the video Kraven had sent to Alexei. Kraven then stands up, and before leaving, he tells his father that he had taken down every criminal and gang except for him, because in the end, he was still his father. Even now, he says, he cannot bring himself to do it. He then walks away. At that moment, we hear the sound of a bear approaching. His father tries to use his gun, only to realize that the bullets are missing. The bear lunges at him and kills him. Later, it is revealed that Kraven was the one who had removed the bullets from the gun. After a year, we find Dmitry at the bar, and Kraven goes to congratulate him on his birthday. Dmitry tells him that he has started seeing a doctor to help him overcome his fears. We then learn that this doctor is the same one who treated Alexei. Kraven notices that Dmitry has become involved with the Russian mafia and has taken over all of his father's business. He leaves, but later follows him and discovers that Dmitry has gained a superpower, the ability to transform into anyone he wants. It is revealed that he acquired this power because of the doctor. Dmitry explains that after Alexei and his father, Nick, were gone, there was no longer a dominant gang in Russia, and he plans to establish the first and largest one. However, Kraven tells him that he won't let him do that. Dmitry responds, "If you think you can stop me, then go ahead and try." From their conversation, we understand that this marks the beginning of their war, something we will witness in the second part, and that was the end of the movie. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit like and share to support us and help us reach more people. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you'll get all the new videos as soon as they're uploaded. Don't forget to share your thoughts in a comment below. Your feedback is really important to us and helps us improve our content. Thank you so much for your continuous support.